Hi guys, Casey here from Stand Proud Canine Training, and this is going to be part 2 to the intro to the e-collar video. And here we have Miss Sky. We've actually been doing a couple of sessions with her just with the leash pressure in conjunction with the e-collar. So now she's on I think this is a 15-foot line. She was on an 8-foot line before. So now giving her a little bit more chance to roam around and move and lets us get some more distance with her. And she is working at a level 4 right now. And she's been pretty consistent between being like between a 3 and a 6, just depending on the distractions and what matters to her. So like I was mentioning before, don't get married to a number. See what level works best for your dog. Now if you see that they're shaking their head a lot, or they're scratching, or they're kind of jumping a little bit, then definitely lower it down. But otherwise, I want to see that she can feel it, but I don't want her to be worried about that sensation. So now that she's on a longer line, we'll see if she can get a little bit more distracted this time. Otherwise, I'll just be using her food, same way as we were doing in the first video, tossing it. And this time we're actually going to be using the word come. So as soon as you see me say that C in the come, so come, that's when I'm going to be initiating the red button. And then when you hear me say good or good girl, that's when that's when I'm letting go of the button. So just to make it easier on you guys, if you see my hand go up, that means that I'm going to be pressing the button. So I'll say Sky, come, good. And then at that point, that's when I'll be lowering my arm down, so you know when I'm actually pressing the button and for how long. So at some point it might just be a quick up and down, other times it might be a little bit more up. Another thing I'm going to be doing with her is I'm going to actually be changing my directions. So at some point I might say Sky, come, go backwards, and then I might go to the left, or I might go to the right. And at the same time that I change direction, I'm going to repeat the command, Sky, come, and then as soon as she turns back to me, good, and I'll release. So at that point, I can start having her switch directions when necessary, and she knows that she needs to come into me, and I'll just straight on and then past me. And she has been doing the automatic sit in front when we do the recall, and I've been rewarding her for that, of course, so she's been doing really good. And I'll show you guys how to do the auto sit in front if that's something that you'd like to teach your dog to do too. All right, so we're gonna get started. So using a little bit of that food as a distraction. Sky, come. Yes, good girl. Sky, come. Yes. Sky, come. Good girl. Good. All right. So at that point, she got a little bit distracted. She lost the kibble, went all over the place, so she kind of wanted to go back and look for it. So at that point, I just repeated, Sky, come, press and hold until she looked back. Good. She kind of got distracted again. Sky, come, press and hold until she came back. Sky, come. That's a good girl. Yes, good job. Good. And I'm starting to say free. And that's her cue. She can kind of go back and do whatever she wanted. So at that point, a little more distance, a little more distractions. So at that point, I could tell that she felt it, but again, kind of blowing it off, don't really care. So now it went up to a 5, so we'll see if that is a little bit better for her. Sky, come. Good girl. Yes. Good job. Okay. Now if your dog doesn't have that automatic sit in front already, then all you would need to do is just reel up on the leash so it's nice and short. And I would recommend doing this when you're still at your 6-foot or 8-foot leash. So bringing them back, and as soon as they come towards you, lifting up, applying leash pressure, and telling your dog to sit every single time. Sky, come. Yes, good girl. Sit. Good. Perfect example there. Good girl. Free. Sky, come. Good girl. Sit. Yes. Let's go. Free. Good girl. Sky, come. Yes, good girl. Yes, good job. That was a good one. Free. And if at any point, if your dog's kind of getting confused, don't be afraid to take a step back, shorten up on the leash a little bit, and do some repetitions just with the 8-foot or 6-foot leash, and combine it with the e-collar and the come. So if this is a little bit too much for your dog, they're getting a little bit too distracted, you're ending up going a little bit higher than you would need to, then take a step back, put on their 6-foot leash, and at that point, then you can use that 6-foot leash and do the recall with that. And then you would add the word to it as well. Sky, come. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. Let's go. Girl, come. Sky, come. Good girl. Sky, come. Good. Yes, good job. Free. And I'm adding that free command, like I mentioned, just so at that point she knows, okay, we're done with that. She can go sniff around and kind of do her own thing if she wants to. Sky, come. Good. Sky, come. Good. Sky, come. There's a good girl. Found something good, huh? Yes. Found something good. Free. At that point, I did go up to a 6 because she was completely blowing me off with whatever little leaf she found on the ground. Sky, come. Good. Again, Sky, come. Good. Again, Sky, come. Yes, good girl. Very good. Free. So the reason that I was changing a bunch of directions at that point was her body was coming towards me, but she was still looking over there, kind of having fun with whatever little leaves and things that she's finding on the ground. Lots of fun stuff out here today. But I want her to be focused in on me, so I want her to actually try and make eye contact with me, or at least show me that, okay, I get that we're working, I get that I'm working with you. If she's just kind of going with emotions, not really paying attention to what I'm doing, then it doesn't really count at that point. I want her to be focused in on what I'm asking for her to do. Let's go. Sky, come. Good. Yes, much better. Good girl. Good girl. Very good. All right, so now I'm back down to a 5. So at that point, when she was kind of found the other leaf over there, I did go up to a 6. So at that point, you'd press and then just go up 1 and keep holding that button down and using a little bit more of that leash pressure to help them. So don't feel like you need to crank that thing all the way up and not help them out. They're still learning this. So go back and use the leash when you need to. That's the reason why you have it. Free. Sky, come. Good girl. There you go. Itchy, itchy. Yes. there she was at a 5, and she kind of shook her head a little bit, so I'm going to go back down to a 4. Let's go. If you're gonna have the leash dragging, so at this point she's kind of figuring it out, and she's kind of figured out that me holding the leash, she's starting to understand if I'm holding the leash then she has to come back. So at this point I'm gonna drop the leash, that way she knows that I don't have it on hand with me. But if you are going to be using the long line and you're going to be dropping it, try and position yourself where you're actually behind the long line. So if your dog decides to take off or something happens, you can actually step on it, not in the position that it is right now. And you found some more fun stuff to roll around in. What are you doing? So I want to try and keep the end of the long line close to me, just in case I need to go and step on it if they need a little bit more help. I don't want to have the dog here in the long line way in another direction. If the dog turns, then I'm going to have to run an extra 20 feet to catch up to him. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let's go. Good girl. Take a step back. Back up. Good girl. Yes. Good job. Let's go. I don't know if you guys can hear the crazy cat in the background. You can see we can use him as a distraction. Neighbor's cat. Nope, not interested in the cat. Sky, come. Good girl. Yes, good job. Let's go. Free. And here I'll show you guys a little bit more of those left and right side steps. Sky, come. Good girl. Sky, come. Good. Sky, come. Good girl. Very good. Stand on my foot, girlfriend. Good girl. Hey. Anytime you hear me say come, I'm pressing the button. I know I'm not lifting my hand every time, but every time you hear me say come is when I'm pressing holding. Good girl, I'm letting go. What are you doing? One last thing to show you guys here before we end this quick session is showing you how to use the leash to guide your dog into that auto sit if you're just getting started. So if I have my short leash, Sky, come. Good girl, reel in, sit. Good. Yes. So practice all of this stuff on your leash first, even without the e-collar. Practice with your prong first so they really understand the come and sit in front of you. So even before you get into the e-collar, make sure your dog understands this on leash first. Sky, come. Good. Sit. Yes. Good. Let's go. All right. And that's all there is to it, guys. So at this point, what we would be doing with her, increasing more distance and getting out of my driveway, going out and doing some more things in more distracting area, and also starting to link everything that she knows on leash to the e-collar. So same thing with the sit. If you were to say sit, I'm not actually going to press it, but you'd say sit, good, sit, good, when you're doing those repetitions. For the down, same deal with that pulley system, where if you would say down, you'd be, good girl, you'd be holding down on the button while applying leash pressure at the same time. Now once your dog starts to really understand this, then at that point you can start saying sit, down, come. So it'd be more taps than taps and holds. And then you could use a little bit of a higher motivator to be more for non-compliance than completely blowing you off. All right, guys. So we're gonna probably end this session for right now and get some more training done later in the day. But lots of repetitions. Get out into more distracting environments slowly. Always have your long line there just in case. Don't be in a rush to get out of using your long line in emergency. If somehow the dog blows off the e-collar, completely blows you off, not charged, or just something happens, because you never know, always have that long line on them so you have that safety backup. All right, guys, so we're gonna take a quick break here and hope this was helpful. Of course, any questions or anything like that, we're always happy to answer them. You can check out our Facebook. So we'll see you then, and we'll keep you guys updated. Thanks for watching.